originally thought that I was Israeli because I was Tzioni, and then when I moved here, I realized it was a bit more complicated than that. I probably would have had questions if I knew more and had thought about it more. I thought growing up with a Zionist background that made me Israeli. I didn't realize that there was something called Israeli culture.
I think I was most concerned about not having my family around. I was supposed to make Aliyah October 10th, 2023, and the war started. I never made it here. 2 years, I've been debating when it's the right time. I realized it was never going to be the right time.
The difference between a culture and the other one, and the country and the other one, like how it's going to be.
Culturally, it was different than I expected.
Career-wise, I work in healthcare startup. And so I was concerned about how I would be able to continue my career.
I think the biggest thing was like if we were going to be happy here, if it was the right decision. Am I crazy for leaving my family and my life that I knew it and coming here?
Hello, and welcome to this special program focused on the amazing and deeply meaningful topic of immigration to Israel, Aliyah, a central tenet for the country since its founding. Now, I'm David Matlin, proud to be before you today. I myself and those joining me on this special immigrated to Israel at various points in our lives, immersing ourselves in this place. It's unique, and it continually has fascinated us and inspired us based on what we've discovered in this energetic society. Now, moving to Israel is a process with its own unique terminology in Israeli lexicon. The term Aliyah in Hebrew, or ascending, it emphasizes how this move carries much more significance than simply gaining citizenship. It's a spiritual and real transition into life within the Jewish state, where you yourself can take an active part in its destiny. And Israel's a small country, still new in so many ways, and in such a place, each person who decides to make it their home truly has the opportunity to have an impact and affect the country for the better, which leads us to today's theme, YOTER TOV, even better, as we strive to have that positive influence, to steer Israel to a bright and vibrant future together. Now introducing our panelists for this hour. That's Mark Rosenberg. I'm going to start here as the VP for Diaspora Partnerships at Nefesh B'Nefesh. We have Yosef Berman sitting next to him as well. And Yosef is the Aliyah Division, Ministry of Aliyah and Integration. So the two of you coming here as somewhat officials in this nature. I want to get a lot from you as we go. Talia Bornstein joining us, an Israeli mother. These are the notes I have on you, but we're going to get a lot more personal story on you. A mother who made Aliyah during wartime. You also have a professional side we'll touch on as well. Thank you for joining us. Coming over here, I have Batel Kaplan. I know you're a talent specialist. I have some of your professional information, but I want our viewers, again, to connect with you personally as we come in. You'll share your story. And Hillel Fold here is a tech columnist and an advocate for Israel, many years, and familiar probably to many of us, or many of our viewers on this show. So welcome, all of you, for joining us right now. But before we get into discussion with our panelists, let's hear from the Israeli government's Minister of Aliyah and Integration, Ophir Sofer.
חווינו סולידריות עצומה מכל יהדות העולם. אני זוכר שימים ספורים אחרי ה7 באוקטובר נפגשתי עם ראשי קהילות ועם ראשי פדרציות ושמעתי והרגשתי את התמיכה הענקית שלכם בעם בישראל. והתמיכה הזאת המשיכה ללוות אותנו עד היום וממשיכה ללוות אותנו עד היום. ואנחנו אסירי תודה על כך. אנחנו אסירי תודה על כך שמאות חיילים בשנתיים האחרונות עלו ארצה כדי לשרת בצה"ל בתקופת המלחמה. יותר מכל שנה רגילה. ואנחנו אסירי תודה על כל התמיכה שקיבלנו, הן בהקשר של החטופים והן בהקשר של המלחמה. ההגעה שלכם היום, בתקופה הזו לישראל, היא הבעת אמון במדינת ישראל. היא הבעת אמון בעם בישראל. היא הבעת אמון בנצח ישראל. ואין ביטוי חזק יותר של סולידריות, יותר מאשר להגיע ארצה. אני מקבל מאות הודעות אחרי כל מטוס שנוחת. וואו, אנחנו רוצים עוד עולים ועוד עולים ועוד עולים. העם בישראל רוצה לראות את כל העם היהודי מגיע הביתה. וכן, זה הבית שלכם. זה הבית של כל העם היהודי. ואנחנו נשמח לקבל את כל יהודי העולם פה בארץ, כאן במדינת ישראל.
The minister lays down a lot of interesting points for us to talk about, but we will in a moment. Many in Israel, though, do pride themselves on the country really being a land of academic excellence, often highlighted on the world stage even, in international forums and competitions. And some people who recently made Israel their new home and found themselves representing the country in the best ways. But education in Israel takes various forms, some quite unconventional to those new to the country. Let's take a look at this report by I-24 News host and correspondent Emily Francis before we discuss.
With robust universities and curious students, the sky's the limit for Israeli minds, taught to think out of the box. Even during the war and economic slowdown, Israel's 6-person national mathematics team managed to put on serious game faces, winning 4 gold medals at this year's International Mathematical Olympiad in Australia. So, is it something in the drinking water?
We're talking about going into the era of AI and the era where more and more kids are disconnected because they're in their phones and they're in their screens. I find that in Israel, the idea of the togetherness, the idea of interpersonal relationships is something that we are very, very lucky is so ingrained in our culture.
A Jewish school in the diaspora is a kind of isolated island. It's something separate from general society. And here in the land of Israel, when the immigrants come here, the school is the center of a community, an Israeli Jewish identity.
A growing number of families are making Aliyah from the U.S. and other English-speaking countries, and schools are equipped to help youngsters adjust to the culture shock.
The students are very surprised with the Israeli culture. They don't understand, first of all, whether it comes to, personal space. They don't understand that sometimes voices are raised, and it doesn't mean I'm angry with you. And so part of our job in the school is to facilitate that for them.
Jerusalem's Shacharit School offers a unique teaching approach called project-based learning, which transcends language, social, and cultural challenges.
Everything we learn here together is always outward-facing. At the end of the learning process, there will always be some kind of project.
We start with a big question. It could be, why is bacteria good for me? And we start researching it with the students. It gives them a reason to learn. So we ask, what can you do with that information to help your community? A lot of little kids are afraid. They're afraid of bacteria, they're afraid to be sick. They learned the skill of storytelling, and they created children's books where the storyline sort of told the story of the good bacteria. We printed the books for them, and then they went out to the first grades and to the nursery schools in the area, and they read their books to them.
Even though it may be easier for younger children to learn Hebrew, it truly takes a village to help families navigate the bureaucracy and acclimate to a new life in Israel.
They really need a lot of help. Many of these families don't actually know what's going on, don't know how things are going here. They don't have the experience that Israeli families have. We are constantly in communication with them.
And it's these life and community building skills that pay off big time, not only in the army, but also once Olim Chadashim go to university.
Being here comes with a deep sense of belonging, I think, that I didn't necessarily feel growing up in the States. I refer to it kind of as the difference between being a spectator versus being in the game on the playing field.
Ben Gurion University in the Negev is a dream come true for undergrad and grad students searching for an immersive campus experience.
First of all, it's a university that was founded by a government decision to go to the south, to the Negev. We cover about 1/3 of the length of Israel. It's gorgeous, the desert, etc. And we go all the way to Eilat. We have a campus in Eilat with coral reefs and everything, and we have a campus in the middle of the desert who does solar energy. And so we're a unique atmosphere of campus.
The campus has a special center that serves as a home base for international students, providing resources to help with the red tape and also social activities to bond with each other and fellow Israeli students.
When you make Aliyah, you're going to be out of your comfort zone a lot. You're going to be immersed in a society that in some ways is totally different than what you're used to. You're going to be put in challenging conditions that are going to really make you grow.
I found that learning to approach the differences in others through that different lens, on one hand was very challenging, but at the same time, the challenge itself ended up being extremely rewarding.
But as a place that I really see myself living, building a family, building a life, connection to the people, I find that the people in Israel are a lot more friendly. There's much more of a community.
I'm going to take 2 seconds out of one of these things.
1/3 of Israeli engineering graduates come from Ben Gurion University. They're also proud of their undergrad and grad computer science, business, liberal arts, medical, and environmental programs, embracing English-speaking students.
Israel very much supports basic research, which is my passion, what I'm interested in, and so I had the opportunity here at Ben Gurion to pursue the things that I think are interesting and that move forward the scientific field that I work in. And for me, that was what I was looking for, one of the major reasons why I decided to come here.
Before I made Aliyah, I had just finished my PhD and I was working as a consultant for the Ministry of Health in Ontario. And then I made Aliyah when my twins were 4 months old. Teaching in Ben Gurion University and being in Ben Gurion University is incredible. The people here are amazing. My colleagues are incredible. Everyone feels like a family. We fight like a family. We love each other like a family.
A very big part of my job is actually to go around the world and convince people boycotting Israeli academia is the stupidest things you could do. And this is why we'll be able to move through this and hopefully get to a better future where the Israeli universities are the future of liberal Israel, of free spirit and critical thinking and free speech, and coexistence happens here. And I feel very proud to be part of this university and promote that in the world.
Now, as promised, we're here to discuss all these topics, get into the things you probably want to hear more about. I'm going to bring it down the line here to start. Mark, coming to you from Nefesh B'Nefesh, as a senior staffer at this organization, you've seen a lot of people make Aliyah, immigrate to Israel over the years with a host of issues. I think they touch on a lot in this report, whether it be little kids coming in, the university process, army service. These are all, I'd argue, foundational experiences, things that give people a base in the country. How important, are those elements, to people coming in to find that foundation right away?
I think that what's amazing about the opportunity to move to Israel is that for most people that come here, they visited, they spent time here, they studied it, or they've been here for a summer. So they know that Israel's wonderful. They know the people are wonderful. The weather is great. Hebrew's difficult. The food's they know the wonderful things.
They've had fun.
They've had fun. But what they're drawn to, and something that was mentioned specific about education, they mentioned outside the box. They are coming for the box. That Israel is the package, and especially now, those things that are outside the box. They realize that Israelis are living a Jewish life out loud. They are serving, they are giving, they are connected. Those who aren't serving, people are helping those who serve. So there's this special element that is this package of a great, meaningful life. And even more than that, that is, I think, seeing the signs that more and more people are interested in Aliyah.
And it's exciting. There's a lot of things that they discover along the way. Yosef, you're in a position here, I think, where you probably have a pipeline of people with all sorts of questions about all these issues that they touch on in this report. Does this sort of cover the ABCs of what you're dealing with here? And talk to us again about the importance of truly integrating people into the system once they arrive.
So I think that's a point. The word that caught me here was navigating. It sounded like a nightmare, that navigation process. And I think that it's about that. I mean, when my parents made Aliyah 35, a little bit more years ago, it was about just jumping out of the plane, Israel, our shelter. And I think adding the word integration, making sure once you jump out of the plane, don't break your legs, you know how to land on 2 feet. That's very important. And now I think we're in a period of time of landing on 2 legs and being able to run, of succeeding. And those little aspects, programs, in different, finding the right job, finding the right school for your kids. That's a new role in the ministry that we have. It's called personal Aliyah advisors. Actually, we fly, many of us, to different countries, France, England. We started in the US a few months ago, to really give a hand in that challenging process in order to find the right suit for each individual, to sort out the different challenges, we have the government name on our forehead is to find the right connections in that navigating process, to give you the right information. And I think that's big. And we do actually see a jump in the percentage in the different countries we fly out to of Aliyah.
It's great. I mean, an important address, Nefesh B'Nefesh, in the Ministry of Immigration and Integration. You guys have had the answers that I know people are looking for. But I'm pivot over here to Batel. We talk about foundations, things that, especially for young people coming in here. If I understood right, you made the decision to come here and join the IDF. As maybe a first step, even one of your first real, deep steps in the country. Describe, what role that played, and now, propelling you forward in your life here.
So actually, before the IDF, I, at 16, made the decision to come here and finish high school. So that was through the program Naale, and I was in a boarding school in Hod HaSharon. I don't know how my parents let me come at the age of 16, but they're both Israeli. And so they got on a plane, kind of escorted me to the boarding school. And there I studied for 2.5 years. And then I joined a program called Garin Sabar.
So you liked what you found in those 2 years?
I definitely liked it.
Immersed you, and you felt the next step was there to take, going to the Army.
Yeah, so my parents had said, you know, joining the Army, it's a big step and you don't necessarily have to do it. But I think being surrounded by the Israeli society, Israeli people around me, I didn't think twice about it, you know, I just kind of did it. And looking back, it's one of the best things I've ever done, especially doing it through Garin Sabar, doing it with other lone soldiers who didn't have their parents and siblings around. So it really, really helped.
It's an important point, the lone soldier aspect, people coming without that family direct support, but finding in here, finding that people are very much ready to accept you, to take you in, to support you, you know, throughout that process. Incredible. And we'll get to the rest of our panelists here as we get into more topics. I want to introduce more, and we'll discuss other layers of society and moving to Israel here. And it wouldn't be a special, obviously, on Israel without a segment on the amazing high-tech sector that's been it's been driving Israel's growth truly in recent decades. The rising need, though, for top-notch cybersecurity around the world has seen Israeli expertise and innovation really become critical among Israel's friends and allies. Before we explore this important subject as well in the studio, more to come. Here's the report.
A $35 billion acquisition, one of the largest in tech history. Google's purchase of Israeli startup Wiz has once again reminded the world Israel is a global powerhouse of innovation. The country's high-tech ecosystem hasn't just survived, it's thriving. Israeli minds continue to shape the future. And increasingly, these minds come from abroad. Olim, immigrants from across the globe, are finding opportunity, purpose, and community here. Meet Nina Rahab, a 24-year-old entrepreneur who made Aliyah.
I'm Nina Rahab. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I made Aliyah about 2 years ago, and I'm 24 years old. I started Lion Run a little bit over 3 years ago. What we do at Lion Run Consulting is we work with startups all the way to scale-ups to help them prepare to fundraise and put them in the best position to be able to approach investors and successfully complete their fundraising rounds.
For young professionals like Nina, Israel's tech scene is more than just a career path. It's a sense of mission.
Another thing is that I think is what's so rewarding about being here in Israel right now is because my team at Lion Run is now mostly comprised of super ambitious, smart, dedicated Olim who are here in Israel and have that same vision to build. And I'm so lucky that as a founder here in Israel, I can continue to add value by also employing Olim and then furthering the mission, you know, not only to add value to the founders that we're working with, but also create more opportunities for Olim that are coming here to really work here and understand that they too can also thrive here.
Creativity here knows no borders. What begins on a computer screen in Tel Aviv can soon transform a patient's life in a hospital. Like the story of Ole, a French-born physician who turned a simple idea into a revolution for vision. 10 years ago, Dr. David Smadja left his medical practice in France. Today, his company Nanodrops is revolutionizing ophthalmology worldwide.
Many physicians are splitting their week in different activity. Some days are working at the clinic and seeing patients or doing surgery, and others they are focusing on their entrepreneurial life. But what is interesting in this specific domain is that everything you do at the clinic is a source of inspiration for what you are bringing to your company. And at the same time, you can also use this clinical setup that you have every week at the clinic to facilitate the process of your R&D and development in the company. So that's actually a great combo.
Nanodrops has already drawn attention from investors in the US, Europe, and Asia, and its founder insists it could only have happened here.
First physician, especially when they have some tendency for research activities. I highly encourage them, obviously, to get involved in the Israeli ecosystem. And for the physicians that are hesitating because of some unknown question about the health environment here for access to care, I can tell them that the level of medicine here and of care is extremely high, is one of the best in the world. This is not to be proven anymore.
French, American, and British Olim are joining firms like Wiz, Checkpoint, and GAFAs, not just as employees, but as founders, researchers, and CEOs. For every new Ole, each startup story is more than just a business success. It's a new chapter in the story of a nation that keeps reinventing itself.
Israel is truly a meritocracy in the sense that you don't necessarily need to have all the accolades that people, let's say in the US, would, that they typically value. And because of that, anyone who has an amazing idea and the drive to succeed, and as long as they're adding value to the ecosystem, will be successful in my opinion.
Inspiring stories they are. I want to bring it back into the studio with my guest here. Hillel, look, you moved here many years ago, as far as I understand. As a family, as a kid, in part of a family structure coming here. But growing up here, I'm interested to hear a bit about how you gravitated towards the high-tech sector. You know, how that drew you in and you know, how you find yourself in it today.
So I came here when I was 15 with my family. Not an easy age, middle of high school. 30 years later, I can tell you, best thing that ever happened to me by a large margin. But technology for me was kind of like my northern star. I knew I was going to end up there. I wasn't sure how. And yeah, I just, I started what we call today blogging 20 years ago. And really one thing led to another. And I kind of penetrated the tech market. Again, I'm not an engineer. I'm just a random dude who loved tech and had a lot of passion for it, which is, I think, illustrative of how things work in Israel. If you're a facilitator, you get things done, the sky's the limit. And, if you're in corporate America or in Silicon Valley, you want to have lunch with Mark Zuckerberg, good luck. If you're in Israel, you want to have lunch with whoever, it's like an email and a half and you're there. So everything's very easy if you're a resourceful person.
It's a great point. The sort of, in Hebrew, that rosh gadol, go get it, that take initiative thing. I think I've experienced that in many aspects of life here, too. It's a good point to illustrate. I try to touch on that in the opener, that truly anything's possible. Being such a small country, believe it or not, the individuals can have outsized impact on things they'd like to. Look, what do you say? I want to stay on the high-tech sector with you for just a moment. In the midst of this war, these 2 years that we've come through right now, not an easy time for anything Israeli. How do you define the Israeli, tech scene right now? Still the powerhouse that it was?
The resilience is supernatural, quite literally. I mean, I'm not going to get too biblical on you, but this is a thing. This is a theme of the Jewish people. The more they persecute us, the stronger we get. And we broke records in the war. You would think we'd be like crumbling in this war. It's an existential war. We broke M&A, as was mentioned, $30 billion acquisition, Google's biggest acquisition ever. We broke large financing rounds. So we continue to flourish despite all the challenges. And the truth is, the world looks at us and how this has got to be a fluke.
And I'll let you optimistic. I'll let you bullish on the future a bit. Optimistic about where we're going from here.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. How could you not be optimistic?
Look, I got to bring in another guest up here. Aliyah, thank you for waiting patiently here to get to your story. It's so amazing to hear in the midst of everything we've touched on right here, the challenges involved, the international attention on us, the job sector, wherever it may be. You and your family, young family, moved here just months ago, made Aliyah. So you're maybe the newest immigrant sitting around us here, but that's fantastic. Look, what do you say about the moment? What about this moment worked for you and sort of drew you in, if you can generalize?
It's something that my husband and I are both raised with, the value of returning back to our homeland. For many years, he was getting his PhD. I was hustling in the Jewish nonprofit world. We loved our life. Things were good. We were living in Florida. And it kind of came to a head where there's that saying in Hebrew where they say, Im lo achshav matai. Our oldest was going to be turning 8. Oh. And we just felt like, there's never the perfect time. You can keep making excuses. You can keep telling yourself one more year. And we already did that once. So we felt like now is the right time for our family and to make sure that our boys would be Israeli. And I didn't want them to have to struggle as an immigrant, like perhaps me and my husband are a little bit, but they're adjusting.
It's a life of challenges. That's all.
Correct.
I've accepted it throughout the years. But it keeps things interesting. Yeah. Look, what did you think, seeing in that report about the kids integrating into school? I mean, that's obviously the phase you're in right now is sort of this, a real jump in the deep end integration moment for you?
So there's a little children's book, actually, that has this saying that we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we have to go through it. And I actually have been using that line with my children a little bit when they've come home and, have kind of shared some of their struggles of like, Ima and Abba are in this together with you. We're going to go through it together. And I think that it's really an onus on a parent a little bit. I always say there's two parts of this. There's the parent attitude to approaching it in your home and staying positive and being strong for your kids. And it then permeates into your children and how they integrate as well. So I've really, whenever anyone has been asking me, because we're 2 months in, I really try to talk about it in a positive manner so that it kind of infiltrates to our children as well.
You've got the right idea going forward, no doubt about it. The right motivations, the right mindset as you head into this. Thanks for sharing that, personal as it is. We do have much more to discuss in this special. We'll be right back. It's a short break. Welcome back. Glad you're staying with us here as we continue our Aliyah special here, focused on immigrating to Israel. And before we discuss more in the studio, here is Doron Almog. He's the chairman of the Jewish Agency for Israel, which serves as an important facilitator for those seeking to immigrate to Israel. Take a listen.
תפקידה של הסוכנות הוא להוביל את העלייה. העלייה היא מנוע צמיחה, יש לה חשיבות אסטרטגית לבנייתה, צמיחתה והתפתחותה של מדינת ישראל. היה מאז הקמתה של מדינת ישראל, הסוכנות הביאה עד היום כ4 מיליון עולים למדינת ישראל מאז 1948. מאז ה7 באוקטובר, שבת שמחת תורה, הגיעו לישראל 55,000 עולים ועולות, ולכן בתקופה הזאת אני הייתי רוצה לראות כמיליון עולים מגיעים למדינת ישראל בשנים הקרובות, ובעיקר צעירות וצעירים. אבל לא רק, יש כאן חוסרים של מקצועות חיוניים למשק. צריך רופאים, צריך מהנדסים, צריך אנשי סייבר, צריך אנשי מדע. ומה שאנחנו מזהים בעקבות אירועי שבת, שמחת תורה, 7 באוקטובר, אנחנו מזהים טלטלה גדולה בעם היהודי, כאלו שלא היו בקשר איתנו, לא היו בקשר עם השליחים שלנו בעולם, פתאום התעוררו.
Coming back here, I want to discuss, Yosef, these are obviously there's big plans. There's a lot of grand ideas about where this should go. This is what the country's seeking. What do you see? And here's someone who just took the sleep right now. What do you have to say about that?
Honestly, I got the chills when Talia spoke. And I think that's exactly it. First of all, to salute to those who jump into the water, sometimes freezing cold water. And that's the idea of now what the ministry wants to. It's in the process of giving a hand in that process of Aliyah, planning in advance, personal advisors. Also, once you make Aliyah, also after the Aliyah, to make sure you integrate slowly but surely. It is crazy. It is very challenging. Our job is to make the journey a little less challenging. I met recently an engineer in the US, and he told me, listen, I'll be so successful here, and I am, but I want to be part of something big. Like I think it's called October 8th Jews, the day after. Something changed, something moved there, and people want to be, he told me, I want to build Israel. Now, I can't join the army because I'm 52, but I told him you can, actually. But he told me, I want to build Israel. So I want to make Aliyah and just be part of that amazing industry. And again, it's challenging, but that's our role, to give a hand in the process and slowly but surely to make it happen in the best way.
I want to just throw a question to Talia and Batel here about, your discussions with your peers, people in your community, back there, or just your friends around the world. What kind of questions, how do you deal with the questions that you're getting from them? Or what kind of role do you find yourself in, as a representative, in other words, of coming to Israel?
I will say that I previously was working at a very large Orthodox synagogue called Boca Raton Synagogue with two very prominent rabbis, Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg and Rabbi Philip Moskowitz, and they were the most encouraging and actually incredibly proud and it's what they preach it, all the time. And so I got a lot of understanding that it's time for your family, and you've made that choice. Yeah.
But what about you? I mean, talk to me, your peers, people your age. What kind of questions are you fielding? How are you, wrestling with this in your day-to-day?
So for me, it was a little bit different. I made a very sudden decision to come back to Israel since October 7th. I come from a very Jewish community in Sydney. My parents, they saw me making those steps, but my friends, I think, had mixed questions. They didn't necessarily understand my pull to Israel. We live a very comfortable life in Sydney, and I'm sure in America, where everyone has come from. Sure. But to explain that pull that Israel has and what the connection is to it, you have to kind of go with that. And I think since being back here for a year and a half now, people have seen how that has paid off for me personally.
Fantastic.
So
we'll get into more about what pulled you back here and more to bring into the discussion here, though. But I want to bring in the next topic or add to our discussion here. Israel is truly a country with leading impact in the most pressing health and science-related fields as well. Israeli institutions, researchers, pioneering developments in regenerative medicine, beyond. Before we discuss the country's contributions to the worldwide health, and again, more on Aliyah, here's more from I-24 News host and correspondent Emily Francis.
The brilliant minds of the startup nation are advancing science and medicine at lightning speed. Israeli scientists at Tel Aviv University and a biotech company called Matricelf made world headlines qualifying for clinical trials with the goal of making paralyzed patients walk again, all by growing new spinal tissue from the patient's own body. And at Hadassah En Kerem Hospital in Jerusalem, a doctor who made Aliyah from the U.S. is lending his expertise in advancing radiology treatments for rare cancers.
Making Aliyah definitely has its challenges, and coming into a new workplace for a new language, new system, new culture, but being here and being part of what's going on in Israel, to me, kind of beats all those challenges and makes it totally worth it.
Dr. Philip Blumenfeld made Aliyah 4 years ago and is a radiation oncologist and the director of advanced radiotherapy.
Me as a physician, being in the startup nation, working with all these new technologies, has really helped me move forward in my career and get to places that I didn't really think were possible.
It's a wonderful gift to the state of Israel that so many American physicians and nurses are coming here. First of all, we have a doctor shortage. We have a nurses shortage. We here at Hadassah Medical Center are a very good fit for those doctors who want to do advanced medicine and particularly research.
These things called MLCs, these are little blocks that we can move very, very fast. When I got here in 2020, there was this amazing machine, brand new machine we were the first in Israel to get it. It's called the Ethos machine. What this machine actually allows us to do is adapt the radiation treatment daily to the patient's anatomy of today. So that is really a new field in radiation oncology, and we've been on the forefront on that. We've showed that potentially using this very advanced machine, we can reduce side effects of the treatment and get to better outcomes.
So why did Dr. Blumenfeld leave a lucrative private practice in Chicago behind and making Aliyah with his family to a country with socialized medicine?
Even in Chicago, I remember several cases that patients were turned away because they didn't have the right insurance. And that's really sad to me.
Nobody gets turned away. You can be Jewish, Arab, Muslim, Christian. Everybody gets the same medical care here. And it doesn't matter if you have a pre-existing condition. So many insurance companies won't take you, but here we take everybody.
Yaakov, the treatment went great. You did great. You didn't move, and it was perfect.
And for Yaakov, who made Aliyah from New York, getting cancer treatment in Israel is proving to be a lifesaver in more ways than one.
Once I got here, socialized medicine was new to me. You go for an MRI, you go for a CT, you need this test, that test. I felt it was very, very pleasant and smooth. That additional worry about, oh my gosh, $50,000, like, or the co-pays and co-insurance and all of that. Nothing to worry about. You join the Kuppah.
Well, the imaging's looking good. That necessarily wouldn't happen in the United States because you have to have the authorization of the insurance company to go ahead and treat. It's very likely they would say, well, no, according to our guidelines, he doesn't fit.
You wonder what kind of care is somebody going to give you when they hear you're in 4th stage cancer. You come here and you have a doctor like Dr. Blumenfeld, and I'm not saying it because he's standing over there, but really, like, he told us from the beginning, we're going to keep you alive until we find a cure for this very rare cancer that my husband has.
Like, it's amazing. I mean, I know that radiation works for you.
And the care goes beyond professional. It's also on a personal level.
They routinely give out their cell phone numbers, and people use them and call them. I can just tell you that one of my sons is a doctor here at Hadassah, and when we were babysitting with him at a ski lift in France, he was actually taking calls for his patients on the top of the ski lift. And he's not the only one, and that's the way it is in Israel.
I'll just give one vignette that the first time I was at a doctor and I was diagnosed, and the doctor picked up the phone. It was in the middle of when I found out that I had cancer, which was a devastating piece of information for me. The doctor picked up the phone in the middle of my meeting with him. My initial reaction was, wow, what a chutzpah. A doctor interrupting my visit to answer some other patient when I was on the receiving end of it. I just felt it was so warm and caring.
And what's more, being in the Jewish homeland somehow provides a quality of life that is good for mind, body, and soul.
We recently moved up on the OECD list of living longer. The average Israeli lives longer than people in most countries in the world. The system is very good, and people exercise more and eat better here. So on the whole, people do live longer, and that's nice to know. People live longer, and people have many grandchildren here usually as well. The good chances of having many grandchildren.
And coming in here again with our panelists. Look, Hila, I want to draw you into this. This is obviously the healthcare system, something that many people tout and look at and point to as this is, such a functional part of society, something that positive, especially coming from places like the United States. It doesn't exist. You, in your role, have, I think, dealt with and encountered a lot of types of people, coming in here, people interested in the country, people combative, people supportive. And what elements, here's just to come off with something positive like this, what elements do you find yourself, leaning on, looking to, when you're either defending the country, talking about it? Where do you lean? What are your pillars in a way that you look at around you?
So I don't think people need to run away because of anti-Semitism. I think Israel today is basically paradise. And I know some people hear that and say, well, you're at a war. Let me tell you something. When I came here 30 years ago, we couldn't get tuna fish in this country. Now we're I sit in Tel Aviv in these cafes, I look around me and I'm like, this is unbelievable. And anytime I meet anyone, entrepreneurs, whoever, investors, they all say the same thing. They feel infinitely safer here than anywhere in the world. And really, you can't understand it until you come visit. There's something special about the air in this country.
And really functional in that regard, I think, in terms of the way it works. Yosef, in terms of the healthcare system that we just look at here right now, this is obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, a top draw, a top interest point for people who are moving to the country. Looking at healthcare, looking at what, the level of Israeli healthcare, the socialized medicine. Is this something you end up discussing a lot or?
Actually, yes. Yeah. And I think what draws people is once you make Aliyah, you're entitled for medical insurance from day one. Yeah. From the airport, you land, you just need to choose which Kupat Cholim, and we try to explain there's no major differences. Whatever it is, you're entitled from day one, and no one, like we just saw, is going to look into your pre-existing situation. Once we want to get private insurance, that's something else. But really, the medical system in Israel is good. It is very good. And actually, in our ministry, we have a whole department that deals with doctors, pharmacists, nurses that want to make Aliyah and give them a special hand in the process. Joint with Nefesh B'Nefesh, we have a joint program helping them out in their license, making sure we make the process fast, less crazy. And I think in the past 2 years, we were around 600 doctors that made Aliyah. The country is lacking doctors, and we're all in to bring, well, from all over the world, good doctors. And again, the medical system in Israel is really good, and people that make Aliyah from different countries mention it. Oh, actually.
And Mark, in terms of medical professionals, interested in Aliyah, the lack of, the need for more people to come into this country, how do you find that integrative process? Is it something that people are able to overcome? Is it something that people are interested in getting here, getting involved in the healthcare system here to some degree?
Totally. I think that anyone who's coming to Israel, they want to bring their talents. And if you have a specialized profession, you want to make that transition, whether it's culturally and technically. And Israel has grown up a lot in that regards. I remember being a student here in a year that started with a 1, and the sports scores came a few days later, and movies were on a delay. We got the sports scores simultaneously. We're watching the Super Bowl at the same time. We're getting the same streaming services. And therefore, it was amazing to see the government ministry realize they have to also get their technology going. And the licensing process for physicians is amazing. You can even do it before you get here. And a week after you land, you can practice. That's a game changer for physicians to know that they can come and even sometimes we even offer jobs before they come. And you see that trickling down to other professions so that they're able to make that leap into it. Those are for licensed professions. For unlicensed professions, then, it's like really Hillel's world, that you can really, if you can lean in, make those connections and network, people realize that it's less formal and they can seize that opportunity. And just one other thing I want to add on, I think that if I had stayed in the United States, I probably would have been a teacher and maybe have become administrator, and that stayed on that path. And that's the training career they have. But more and more people are coming to Israel because there's a new horizon for them professionally and personally. And on that professional level, just because they have that skill set, that career, their skill set can go in many different directions. So it's amazing to see how they blossom and develop into an even better future.
Well, this leads me to swivel back here at Bat-El. Your process of sort of coming here as a young person, establishing yourself, going into the military for a chapter of time, having a real foundation, stepping away, getting perspective, going, I don't want to say back, but around the world, moving other places. Then talk about what brought you back here a little bit in terms of that process, the job market that was there for you, the professional side of that decision. What really was behind it?
Yeah, so as I said, I did Garin Tzabal while I was in the army, and the kibbutz I lived on was Nir Oz. Unfortunately, a lot of people know of that kibbutz because of the atrocities that happened there on October 7th. So initially, when I came back last year, it was for a 2-week trip to, kind of see people I knew, go visit the kibbutz, volunteer, but that pull just didn't let me go back to Australia. And because of the sudden decision to kind of stay, I hadn't even thought about what am I going to do for work? Where will I live? Any of these questions that Talia was fortunate enough to maybe think about. I wouldn't say that the journey to finding my job was the easiest. I think, it does take time and it takes a lot of resilience, a lot of thought about what do I want to do. I could have had opportunities to do something else. I have a background in recruitment, so I really did want to find a recruitment job, and I was lucky enough to find a position with Bildart, who are one of the most promising high-tech companies at the moment in Israel.
Right.
So, yeah.
So success. That's a success on the chart right
was.
there. I know you were interviewed by Hillel for an article some months ago on this sort of topic, the job market. A bit of the brain drain. I think that there was a concern of brain drain going on here. Hillel, you've been amazingly positive on all this subject. What do you say about people? I know there was a moment possibly before October 7th of 23 where it seemed like there might be some real brain drain, people moving from the country. Has there been kind of a reverse trend of that in the last 2 years during war? Where do you stand on the whole, like the most talented people, in other words, that Israeli society with all that it has, where are they? Staying?
Yes, I don't think that that's a real thing.
Okay.
I hate to say the media lies when we're at the media, but the reality is, there are people who left. They were very vocal, made a lot of noise, and that's a great headline. But in reality, it's not a trend. It's not a thing. We're not talking about thousands or tens of thousands of people. We're talking about individuals, many of whom came back, by the way. But, if you're in business, if you're in tech, and you're not in Israel, you're missing out. We're at the pinnacle. We're at the top, across all verticals, across all sectors. So, I don't think brain drain is a real thing at all.
Now, to add to that in a bit, there's a military component here, to this sector here. The military is a major sort of feeder, I think, to the high-tech sector, to a lot of the cybersecurity industry things. 8200, the high-tech unit. how do you describe to our viewers who are watching, the importance of those, elements behind the scenes, or even, leading high-tech innovations in this country? Where does the military fit in?
First of all, there's a social element, right? A lot of these entrepreneurs are, they're boys or girls from the army, right? I mean, that's first of all. But also there's the innovative approach of, the Israeli units, specifically 8200, but not only, where you got to think out of the box, to survive. You got to think out of the box. And we see some of these things happen in the war, whether it's beeper operation and many other things. This is some serious out-of-the-box thinking, and that's exactly what you need to build a successful venture. So it's easy, to replicate that and bring it into the commercial world.
No doubt, it's such a major point of pride for this country at large, all these things you touch on here, the innovations, the successes we've seen with this sector, despite all the challenges. Got to bring some other elements here before we discuss, again, more. Throughout my years in Israel as a new immigrant citizen, the complexities of daily life, they were sometimes confounding, but also encouraging. And I think we've touched on that a lot in here. The sets of challenges are often what propel us forward. They provide us the greatest senses of accomplishment in the country. And today, we highlight Yocheved Kim Rotenberg. She recently moved to Israel and how she decided to approach her new life here, seeing the border regions near Gaza and Lebanon virtually uninhabitable during the war, establishing a nationwide volunteer corps to address the needs of the country, driven by the new immigrants. Here's their story.
Since October 7th, Israel has been at war. Anti-Semitism around the world is running rampant. Thousands of farmers have been left without their workers. Communities have been ripped apart. And yet, we're seeing tens of thousands of volunteers from all over the world stepping up.
Thank you very much.
No matter their background, religion, or ethnicity, they are coming to help, to experience, and to find purpose. We centralize all volunteering efforts in Israel since October 7th. We've created a marketplace of thousands of volunteer opportunities for people to come and pick and choose. So if they want to volunteer for the morning, they can go volunteer for the morning. If they want to volunteer for a full day, they can volunteer for a full day. We give them all of the options so that they can pick. We're building connections. We're making a difference in communities across the world and in Israel. But what makes us really special is our community. We have over 43,000 active members in our Facebook group, and they love and support and care and cheer each other on. Israel needs us to continue. Honestly, the world needs us to continue. They're able to go home and say, I helped heal Israel during one of the hardest times in history, something that we are going to be talking about for the rest of our lives. We need to keep going, and we need to keep building, because we're making a huge difference. This isn't just about now. This is about the next generation and the generation after.
And given Yocheved's tireless work to organize volunteers around Israel today, she receives our Immigrant of the Year award. And here she is joining us remotely from the U.S. today. Thank you for all you do. This is I-24 News Aliyah
Wow,
Award.
it's an absolute honor to win this award. Thank you so much, I-24, the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration, and of course, Nefesh B'Nefesh, not only for facilitating my Aliyah process, but also for putting me up for this award. I've dedicated my life to the nation of Israel, and I will continue to do so. So to be recognized for this work is incredibly special to me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Yocheved, of course.
And everybody make Aliyah! Am Yisrael Chai.
Well, to bring in here, I want to get any closing sentiments from us here. Time runs out, unfortunately, but coming to Talia, here you are again. A pleasure to have someone here who's so recently on the group flight that came in, the Aliyah flight. A good experience. You're feeling positive. Any words of encouragement you may want to give to someone who's sitting in your shoes?
100%. We were coming from Florida. We made the move to go to New York to get on that charter flight. We wanted it for our kids. And you know what? The best thing that happened is a day after we landed, my oldest turned to me and said, that was one of the best days of my life. So very encouraging, and do it while they're young.
Good point on that. But again, to you, a lot of people, young people looking in and considering this as a lot of, struggles and challenges in their life abroad as Jewish or as Israeli supporters. What would you tell them?
So I think, like Hillel said, we are at the pinnacle of where the high-tech world is in Israel. If you want to advance your career in Israel, it's definitely possible. And if you want to start a Jewish Israeli family, come before you even have kids and do that here.
I appreciate everyone for participating here. Hillel, any strong sentiments to leave to our viewers here who are saying, hey, maybe I should lift the phone and find out some more about making Aliyah?
Yeah, we're living in historic times, and you either jump into the game, like you said, or you sit on the sidelines. This is the time to come to Israel, be a part of history, because across the board, whether it's militarily, politically, diplomatically, technology, we're making history here. So join us.
Great sentiment. Awesome. Hillel, thanks for being with us. Batel, Talia, Mark Rosenberg, Joseph Berman, thank you both. Thank you all for being with us on this. I hope you, our viewers, really gained something from us. If there are any Aliyah-related questions or topics that we did not cover or touch on, perhaps, which there are many, of course, contact the Ministry of Immigration and Integration, Nefesh B'Nefesh. You'll have more from us as the YOTER TOV category on the I-24 News app and website as well. You can get much more information. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself today. Don't take all the positivity, though, from us here. There's some upbeat sentiments to see you off.
In terms of being Jewish, I feel safer here.
I don't regret it for a second.
It's nice. I like it. 7 years later, and it was the best decision we ever did. They are more warmer than the people in Mexico, so it's very nice here. I really love Israel. I think it's a beautiful country. I really, really like it because I'm Jewish, and all the Jewish people live here. I was like, okay, I need to come.
I feel most motivated and inspired around these kinds of people and this entrepreneurial ecosystem. So for that reason, I believe it's going to work. I would much rather be a startup founder and startup nation here than in America.
Love living here. It was the best thing we could have done for our family. Every time I go back to America, it just reiterates, and it makes me happy that we don't live there anymore. And this is where we belong. This is my home. We're doing great here. My kids love it. We're happy. We have a community. We have friends. it was the best decision we could have made.
העם בישראל רוצה לראות את כל העם היהודי מגיע הביתה, וכן, זה הבית שלכם. ויהיה פה רק עוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב ועוד יותר טוב.